Folks, only 2 of these properties sold. I'll get into that in the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending December 4th, 2024. So in this episode, we're focused on detached properties for Mississauga, Brampton, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. I call that Durham region, but I focus on Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, and again, Brampton and Mississauga. So just talking about those cities. Just before this video, went online to see how many of those are listed at over $2 million. And these areas are not, although they've got certain pockets, they're not necessarily known for their 20, 30, 40 selling at over $2 million like we see, say, in Toronto or we see in York region. But there are 322 in these areas. Again, just Mississauga, Brampton, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. There's over 322 detached properties currently, right now, listed for sale at over $2 million. Last week, only 2 of those sold. Think about that. 322 for sale, only 2 sold. Most of these that are listed at over $2 million, they're not extravagant, custom-made, big, beautiful homes. They could be big and beautiful, but they're subdivision type homes. They're not necessarily custom estate type homes. These are subdivision homes, the majority, listed at over $2 million. Again, I keep repeating the number because it's so hard to believe. 322 listed for sale, 2 sold. This segment of the market, the 2 million plus for Mississauga, Brampton, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, is really, really suffering. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. There's a link to my calendar up here, another one below this video in the description. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Welcome back. Here we go, folks. We're going to be focused on detached properties for Mississauga, Brampton, and Durham region. For Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. So we have average sold prices up until week ending December 4th, broken down by week. I've got 3 months on the board here, but let's focus not what happened 3 months ago. Right now and over the last few weeks, what's happening with Mississauga? Well, let's see if we could try to explain that, but it seems like average prices are headed in one direction right now. So we're going to start off with Mississauga for week ending December 4th. 31 detached properties were sold. Now, 31's a little bit more than what we sold the previous week. However, overall, I would say looks like sales are starting to come down, which is normal, right? At this time of the year, the fall market, for fall, when we come out of the summer market and we go into fall, we normally see an uptick in activity, and then it turns around, and I can see right there is the end of the year. Sales normally come right down to the end of the year. So 31 detached properties were sold. One was at $2 million or more. Average sold price, what's going on? We are $1,263,000. Yes, I'm talking about Mississauga, and that's the lowest average sold price we've seen in a long, long, long time. Let's see if we could explain it. Sometimes, well, if we look at the way the number is put together, it's an average, right? Average of all properties sold. The idea for accuracy is the same types of properties are sold every week. But that would be in a perfect world, and that's not always the case. So sometimes we got to dig a little deeper. And I can tell you that for week ending December the 4th, there were 7 properties that sold under $1 million. The previous week, only 3. For week ending December the 4th, 90% of the properties sold in Mississauga sold for under 1.5 million. 90%. The previous week, 71%. So 20% fewer sold under 1.5 million. So that will help explain average sold price from one week to the next. And I could, analyze each week, but there's not enough time on this show to do all that. But just for one week to the next, why average sold price is so much lower, it's the composition of the properties that actually sold. So I don't want you to think your home value dropped that much over 1 week. And if you're buying, I don't want you to think, oh my God, I can get properties for, $100,000 cheaper this week than I could have last week. It's not necessarily true. Compared to last year, 1263, it's 9% lower in average sold price. The median price is 2% lower. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. Prices were kind of sort of slanting upwards, and because these last few weeks turning the other way. 31 were sold, 16% sold at list price or more. 63 were listed, but it is higher than the previous week's listings, but overall listings are coming down. Active listings, we're seeing fewer out there. There's still a lot, fewer. Months of inventory down a little bit. We're sitting at 4.4 months of inventory, almost in the middle of what we would call a balanced market. That's Mississauga. Let's look at Brampton. 46 detached properties were sold. No properties sold at $2 million or more, although there's lots for sale at $2 million or more. None sold in Brampton. 46 sales, it kind of doesn't look like sales are going up or coming down. They seem kind of flat since the beginning of October. Average sold price, $1,159,000. If we remove the low of the low and the high of the high, prices seem kind of flat in Brampton for detached properties. Compared to last year, 1159 is 3% higher. The median price of 1096 is 4% lower. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, kind of shows us, since the end of October, beginning November, prices are kind of flat. 46 were sold, 20% sold at list price or more. Listings trending down, fewer listings, fewer active listings, and months of inventory, pretty steady. We're sitting at 3.6 months of inventory. Here's Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. This is my Durham sample. 41 detached properties were sold. One of those was at $2 million or more. 41, look, you could look at that and say, well, 45, 45, 42, 42, 32, 41, sales are coming down. Look, by one each week, maybe. I think sales overall are pretty flat right now. We're not really seeing direction one way or another. However, average sold price shot way up to $1,229,000. And the way I tried to explain what happened with average sold price in Mississauga, which came way down, I'm going to look to explain what's happened here with average sold price shooting way up. 6 properties sold $1.5 million or more. So for week ending December 4th, 6 properties sold for $1.5 million or more versus the previous week where it was only 2 properties that sold at $1.5 million or more. The composition of what sold really affected the average sold price overall. Compared to last year, 1229, 7% higher. The median price of 1180 is 12% higher. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, a little bit all over the place. It's hard to see a direction. 41 were sold. 34% sold at list price or more. Listings trending down. Active listings also coming down. Months of inventory, 2.1. It is down from the previous week. It's pretty similar to what we've been for the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, but it is one of the lower months of inventory when we look back at over the previous few weeks. Here's a quick summary. pretty much you're going to see a balanced market. However, in Whitby, detached properties, there's a good chance there's going to be some competition. There's a good chance if there's not competition, that property that you saw come on the market could be sold relatively quickly. It is a bit more active in the Durham region for detached properties versus what we see in Mississauga and in Brampton. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.